Hi, I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm at Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
And so, we're talking about PaulyPalooza.
PaulyPalooza.
We threatened to do this, and now we're doing it. We're doing a celebration of
Pauly Shore.
Yeah, it's Pauly Shore nostalgia.
It really is.
Like I don't have enough distance to be able to say if if these movies are objectively good or not. They're super nostalgic. I saw them at the right age, and so I love them, but I don't I could see somebody saying what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, his oeuvre, I think he has one of the best filmographies pound for pound.
Yeah, he's kind of part of this tradition, and it's like the goofball. Jerry Lewis, Steve Martin, Jim Carrey,
yeah,
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
This goofball, and they kind of have their run, and sometimes the run lasts a long time, sometimes it's short. But I mean, Pauly Shore had his moment. It's come and gone, obviously, but he had a moment. He had a streak. I think a nice body of work came out of it.
And also even though some of those guys, their shtick we were talking about don't have a name, I love how his character's called the Weasel.
Mm-hmm. And it's also because he's got this character. It's the Weasel, but it's in quotes. It's kind of like Jerry Lewis's character.
I was trying to think of what his character is called.
It does have a name, or it's like the clown, or I mean, and you have another person to add to it, Charlie Chaplin. So Charlie Chaplin had the Tramp and stuff. But he's called Pauly's character is called the Weasel, even though he there's never a movie where it's the Weasel,
there's a poster I've been trying to find.
Okay.
If anybody has access to this, send it to the P.O. Box. I will send you something pretty dope in return for it. It's the theatrical poster of her son-in-law, one of them. It's amazing. It says, we're talking about this, it has the chicken, the cow, the donkey, then it says the Weasel, and it has his picture underneath it. I need that.
Yeah, that is funny.
Isn't that so if you send it, please send it our way.
Speaking of pictures, I'm looking at some of the pictures hanging up in Carla Cugino's dorm, and one of them's this woman with her arms up, and so my aunt had that it was framed hanging up in her living room. And it had some kind of name it had a title Rapture or Ecstasy or something. It had some kind of name, We were talking, but it was very 80s.
The time period too, when she was in her room at home, she had a Billy Ray Cyrus poster, and that was I remember in elementary school that was the the biggest thing going, achy breaky heart.
My memories of this movie, I didn't know it was Carla Cugino playing the role in this movie.
I forgot about that.
I didn't even I didn't really know her name until Karen Sisko and Sin City and stuff her sort of other stuff. So it's so funny seeing her because it's it's her, but she's she just looks completely different.
Halfway through, she dyes her hair blonde.
Right. Yeah. So then her look changes. Even more so. And we get Pauly Shore coming in.
Great trailer moment.
Popping in from above, which is that's a 90s move. That's
the
beginning of Speed, where their car arrives from above.
We should come in upside down for the episode.
Yeah.
And there's so many trailer moments. I remember the grandfather's I'd rather die later in the movie.
And Pauly has got the complete spray tan, it's a complete even coat. He's Play-Doh colored. He's the color of Play-Doh. He's the color of ham. He's the color of Spam. He
looks like a burnt hot dog.
A burnt hot dog. He's the color of he's the color of Sam Kinison when he's screaming. And
he's like Hulk Hogan's pecs. looks like a done hot dog. Even with young Adam Sandler too, it's these guys are wacky and funny, but if you might see them out of context, you're this guy's in good shape, and he kind of looks like a stud. Usually you're low status comedy guys.
Well, the thing is, and I think maybe this, I don't know what went, why Pauly Shore's streak as sort of like the Hollywood leading man of comedy or whatever went away. I don't know. Sometimes, you know, maybe it's just, you know, whatever, the vagaries of the business. But usually you can tell, like, looking at all those different guys, the move is always you figure out how to get yourself into dramatic roles. Like, you know that, like, the clock is ticking on this, like, goofball character. And the goofball character, you know, it is tied to youth. You know, you reach a certain age, you know, Jerry Lewis, Charlie Chaplin, you know, it's just not a good look anymore. So you got to figure out a way to become, like, the dramatic actor or the character actor before that, like, kind of runs out.
Yeah.
So, and I just remember in the case of, like, I feel like every generation has this, but, like, in the case of, like, Steve Martin, just feeling, like, so betrayed when it's like, you start, and it's like, wait, hey, what happened to the jerk? Like, why is he, you know, the dad in Father of the Bride, all that stuff, like this? No, you're like, you should be, you know, your pants should be down around your ankles, you should be like, you should have an arrow through your head, and it always feels like a betrayal.
It does.
You know? And it took me a while to kind of like figure that out, and I think it's different for, like, you know, everybody has that sort of, you know, that like maybe it's with
same with Jim Carrey.
With Jim Carrey, you know, but like Pauly, you know, if he had been able to maybe do that.
Same with, like, Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler seems to not have given up his, like, goofy comedic stuff, even though he's doing, like, uncut gems and whatnot. Yeah. But, like, my thing is always, like, if you're a comedian, you can do drama. But if you're a dramatic actor, it's still up in the air. There's a running joke on, like, Letterman with Al Pacino. It's like he has no comic timing, or he can't do comedy, so they have him, like, try to read, like, the top 10 list, and he just doesn't. He has no concept of, like, it's just hilarious. So, like, yeah, if you're a comedian, like Ray Romano, Adam Sandler, these guys, like, you have, like, a timing, right? You have, like, a sad, like, you can, there's, like, you could draw on your dramatic, like, acting. We're
watching Son-in-Law. I guess that was probably, like, the perfect intersection of popularity, like, him being sort of, like, you know, like the lead, or not, I mean, Carla Cugina's the lead, but he's at least, like, the male lead.
I think of this as the quintessential Pauly Shore movie.
Yeah, me too. Like, Encino Man might have, like, Encino Man felt like a little more of, like, a hit, or whatever, like, but it's like, he's kind of, like, Pauly Shore's kind of coming in from the side, where this is like, okay, we're doing a Pauly Shore movie, his son-in-law, and it was, like, a hit and stuff.
It definitely was a hit. And you know what else? You know what? I have a theory.
Let me hear your theory. Yeah.
So this is, like, he had a 3-picture deal with Disney. It was Hollywood Pictures. It's like the adult, like, arm of Disney. This is the second one following Encino Man. My theory is this is a direct sequel to Encino Man. Okay. And he is the same character from Encino Man. So in Encino Man, his character is Stoney. In this movie, he's Crawl, but he says, my nickname freshman year was Crawl. He doesn't say his name. And during this Halloween party, Brendan Fraser's Link is in this movie. Okay. It's gonna actually pop up here in the
that's interesting.
So
there's a Shoreverse.
There's a Shoreverse.
And that Encino Man.
Look, there he is. That's Link. Look, he pulls out.
Yes. So because he's got, like, the befuddled. He's got the befuddled look on his face. And it's like he's a caveman. Yeah, and there's fire. And then he eats a frog.
And look at this. He's like does like a double take. He's like, huh.
No, you're right. It's like a subtle sequel. No, that's a great.
And he could be Stoney in college because he never he
never says that, oh, this you know, is my name and this wasn't my name. And
because he says, he's like, why do they call you Crow? And he's like, they gave me that freshman year. And then in Encino Man, he says he doesn't talk about his parents, but he talks about his parents here. So I'm thinking, and he's more mature Weasel in this. I'm thinking this is like a 1-to-1.
No, I like it. I like that theory. And Brendan Fraser, like, again, you know, it seems like it could have just been like a cute, like, winking at the camera of, like, oh, here's here's Encino Man or whatever, and just winking at, and then moving on. But then it's like no, you know, there could be something deeper here. Yeah.
So I think this is a sequel to Encino Man, and he's the same character.
So is he the same character in the Army now, or we haven't gotten there yet?
Well, this is going to blow your mind, too. I'm pretty sure there's a Brendan Fraser cameo in the Army now. Yeah. But I can't remember if he's playing Link in that.
I guess since it is like a Disney contract, and Disney is kind of like, the last of the old-fashioned movie studios, So it's like, I guess they probably had both of them under contract. So it's like, okay, Brendan, you're going over
here,
and.
But isn't it cool that that Link from Encino Man is appearing in Son-in-Law?
Yeah. I mean, you want to get, like, when you're a fan of this stuff, you want to get, like, as many, like, bites of the apple as you can. Like, it's so great that, like, while, Pauly Shore was that age, that Pauly Shore, and while Brendan Fraser was that Brendan Fraser, like, they maximize their
Isn't that fun?
That is awesome.
It's the Shoreverse.
Yeah, it's the Shoreverse. They got their...
Isn't that great? Like and I want to have Encino Men, the Sean Astin get him back, Brendan Fraser, because Brendan Fraser's back acting again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like talking about like that '90s show and stuff. It kind of gets me thinking of like, let's just team everybody back up. So, if we got those guys back together, like Encino, like you said, Encino Men, they're all grown up. They're all I like the flashback picture. So, like. It was, they have the flashback picture of Pauly of Crawl in the 80s. And it's like he's got like the Anthony Michael Hall look. He's
circular
got like circular glasses. He's got like the 80s look, but it's like, look, it's the 90s now. So it's not about like Talking Heads and like Devo and stuff. It's about, this kind of like return to like the hippie 60s kind of thing. And
because he had that jacket with the shoulder pads in it.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that great? Crazy, the Shoreverse. Cool. This is a sequel to Encino Man. They're the same character.
And the Cagino verse. She grows up to be Karen
Cisco. Yes.
And in Sin City and stuff. Watching an old movie and then like somebody you just you didn't really compute who they were, and then it's like, oh, she became super famous later on.
When I was watching this when I was little, I thought these two were like as old as I'm never going to be that age.
Right, yeah, because they were older than me when I saw it too. And it is like a very nostalgic movie, because like when I saw it, I was in high school, and so it's like, ooh, this is what college is going to be like. And they were, it was the same as we were talking about with The Real World.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, those Real World people are so old and so sophisticated. And then now it's like, whoa, I'm
30 years old.
I would be and it's the same with it's like, oh, look, they're going to the retro secondhand shop. So then like a few years later when I'm in college, it's like I'm going to the retro secondhand shop, and
for Halloween I dress up like Pauly, like his the Weasel character, like Stony, aka Crawl.
Yeah, because again, like Crawl, it doesn't quite fit. Like I remembered him having like a name, but like Crawl wasn't it, but I guess it is.
Yeah, because they were like, why do they call you Crawl? And he's like, they gave it to me my freshman year of college. I had to like crawl back to my room. But when he got to college, he was Stony, and then they just gave him the Crawl. And I'm convinced they're gonna get a tattoo here.
And like they're a couple at this point. Like they're not, because I feel like they're not a couple until like later in the movie. Like they're kind of like best friends.
And then we got a cameo from Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think I heard Pauly Shore was saying too, when he was under contract to do In the Army Now, I think it might have been after this, and he feels that Disney, for this character, they had to have him cut his hair, and he was like disappointed. He said
that might have been like what killed his career. It was like Samson or something.
Yeah,
like he had to cut his hair for In the Army Now, and then in Jury Duty, it's like not quite grown back.
No.
And it's like, do I go for the wig? Do I
get the Richard Simmons wig? I would have went with the Richard Simmons wig, but do you think, like, I really think cutting that hair, man, talk about losing your fucking mojo.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, sometimes you cut your hair and then you move into like the next phase and all that stuff. But then, sometimes it's like, Felicity or something. Sometimes you cut your hair and it's like
a big mistake.
Yeah. And Pauly, if you ever want to be on the show,
please, we'd love to have you, Pauly.
I'm sure, like we've been thinking about this for maybe like a week, like since we were kind of talking about him last week's episodes, but he's been thinking about this like nonstop since like what 1997 or something, so he's had a lot, like I'm sure he's got his theories about here's where it went wrong here and here's what
and he
yeah, he needs his comeback, he needs his Brendan Fraser's Whale. Like, he needs his version of that. Also, it has to be noted, Pauly Shore is like, you know, one of the famous Nepo babies.
Oh, and Nepo, yeah, definitely. You blew my mind with that. Somehow I didn't realize Mitzi Shore and Pauly Shore, like...
Yeah, and his dad was a comedian. His dad was Sammy Shore, and then his mom, like, you know, he's this young, up-and-coming comedian. Oh, and by the way, his mom owns, like, the big L.A. comedy club.
Well, in Pauly Shore is Dead, he's got, like, every comedian you've ever heard of have, like, a little, like, cameo. Plus, in Jury Duty, remember Dice Clay?
Yes,
of course
yeah.
he's gonna be in that. I can't wait till we do our Ford Fairlane episode.
Yeah.
The Weasel.
Yeah, and it is, like, it's also what, like, he has his body of work within the movies, but then he's got this larger body of work that's largely ephemeral. And it was, like, around the same time as Real World, too, because it was, like, MTV. He was, like, you know, a VJ, and he had all these spots and stuff. So that's part of the mythology, too, and we're not really able to see that. It's not like, when you have a filmography, it's like, it's part of a continuum that you can go back to and view and stuff, but then, you know, being an MTV VJ, it's kind of like spread out. So you would need someone to sort of curate it for you and be like, okay, this is like the Pauly Shore moment. This is what was going on in like 1990 whatever.
Yeah.
You know, where he was just kind of everywhere and like driving, like he had his Jeep. Like Jeeps became real popular, and I feel like he was like I don't know if he was like the driving force of, but he definitely kind of, you know,
and added to that.
Yeah, Jeeps became cool, and I feel he was instrumental to that. And then yeah, like hippies became cool because all through the 80s, hippies were like a joke. It was like a goof. It was like a quick way to get a laugh. And you know, they're all losers. You know, and it was like, because it was like that thing is played out. It's look at those ugly clothes. Now look at, you know, this and that. But then, you know, the 90s, it's like, you know, Pauly Shore, it's like, oh, hippies are kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, like the hippie stuff permeated everything. Like peace signs came back.
Yeah, the
tie-dye.
You know, the other thing I'm thinking of from the 90s is Woody Harrelson in Natural Born Killers.
Yes.
You know, with like the John Lennon glasses and stuff.
His final like movie, what was like, I think it might have been Biodome.
That was the final one. Okay.
I think that might be his final big one. I know Jury Duty was a bomb.
It was a bomb. And then Biodome, did that do well or not?
I think Biodome has since, I mean, pretty much all of his movies have turned profit. Like,
you're right.
He's making money off all his stuff, but I think that's become like a cult classic kind of.
Yeah, because like I got the sense that it was like, we're doing good, and then
Jury Duty, that feels like his, like, the end of the road.
Well, yeah, because it feels like it's a little more challenging. Like, his character in there isn't like the innocent he is. Well, because Robin Williams is like another name in that sort of, you know, that talking about of like the goofball and stuff who becomes serious. And Robin Williams, it was kind of like that with Mork too. Like, the audience loved Mork as this like innocent, this like man-child. But then when he started becoming too like, you know, like having like a dark side to him or whatever, the audience didn't like that at all. And Jury Duty feels that way, where it's like he's not so lovable anymore. And again, like as an actor and as a comedian, I understand that like you want to play like you know that's a more interesting role to play than just this, you know, this this like, you know, man-child. You like, and so but then, you know, it's like it was too much for the audience. The audience maybe wanted, you know, the weasel. They wanted the weasel, and it was like he was like a little more of like a jerk in
his like he still was using some of his, I love his weasel terminology, like grindage for food and like nugs.
Yeah, he invented a vocabulary, which is, you know, kind of a smart thing to do if you're trying to, you know, develop a, you know, create a career, like he creates his own world basically.
We create two alter ego characters.
Yeah, I mean we're kind of doing like what do you think this is? You know, I'm not sure what the name is of these characters that we're playing, but
the muskrat or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll have to think on that one. The dweezil.
It's where I have a bald wig on, or that might. I think that's Ahmed Zab with the bald head, the dweezil.
Crawl's wardrobe looks very labor intensive.
It does.
Know, a lot of handmade clothes and
a lot of scarves. The only one that can outscarve him might be Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, but I think he does an Aerosmith joke in this too.
And and he's there with he's there with his camcorder, and it's like, oh, isn't he so he's so like sort of artsy and free spirit. He's got his camcorder filming everything, but now that's just everybody.
Everybody's got that.
Everybody's got their phone and constantly filming everything.
Yeah, you're right. High maintenance. A lot of bracelets, a lot of necklaces.
Yeah,
chokers.
just like the weave in the jacket. We have the kid from The Sandlot.
Earlier, he was wearing a "Seduce Me, Please" t-shirt. He's got his headband on, just because he's Stony from Encino Man.
Well, you know what? What really like works for me in this movie is like, I really believe that, that this family wants nothing to do with him. They're like, what have you brought home? Are you insane that you brought this weirdo into our life and we just hate him? And like the dad and the grandpa are looking for an excuse to just like murder him. Just like literally murder him. But then by the end, when he becomes part of the family and everybody loves him, like you believe that too.
Yes.
So that's like a really nice storytelling trick to pull off.
Great casting too. Mm-hmm. The family, like, this guy had a little bit of a mullet going on, early mullet. He's like the farmhand.
The Weasel character is so polarizing. You can see how like we were on the right side of it. Like we were within the line and the demographic that like just eats this up and it's like, oh yeah, this is so great. And then you're over a certain line and you're like, this guy's driving me nuts.
Get him out of here.
Get this VHS out of my VCR.
Oh, you better. I didn't see this in the theater, but I rented this a ton from like Farmore.
Well, yeah, I saw this. My parents weren't anywhere. Like, I'm sure they would have been like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
Turn this off. But like, it was relatively new, and watching it on
great.
VCR, it's like kids starting to like have their own freedom. They're in a freshman year or whatever, and like I was getting close to that myself.
This would be like, you rent this from the video store. I love how too back in the day you would rent something and then, pre-internet, you would just like you would watch it in the evening and then before you had to take it back, you're like, we got to watch it again.
Yeah, you try to max out the amount of times because again the cost of renting it is going down per view the more you watch it.
So like. Yeah, before we would take it back, it's like, we watched this last night, but I'm putting it back in, watching Son-in-Law again. Oh, and that sandwich, nice big...
big Dagwood.
Yeah.
And like, that can't be real lettuce. Like, that lettuce is like just painted
movie
green.
lettuce.
Yeah.
Early internet stuff, like the kids, like, he's using some, like, hacker lingo. And he's like, whoa, check out my PC. Yeah. Great set deck, too. Mm-hmm. I see, like, Kirk in the background.
Yeah, that's what I'm really enjoying. Like, that's what I've been noticing about a lot of these, like, watching a lot of these old movies, is just like, ooh, like, kind of, all of a sudden, and maybe it's a movie that, like, wasn't very good, or maybe you didn't enjoy it back in the day, but now it's like, oh, look at all that cool 80s stuff, or look at all that cool 90s stuff.
Oh, yeah, like, earlier in the movie... When they were in the dorm room, they had my favorite cherry Coke can design. Mm-hmm. It was the purple and black design.
It looks like on the wall, like they were gonna. There's Groucho. Looks like on the wall they were gonna have a Calvin and Hobbes comic, but it looks like somebody like redrew it into like an orange tiger and a kid, but like made it not literally Calvin and Hobbes.
That's interesting.
This whole new look for Carla Cugino, I remember that type of look.
Yeah, the
hair, the collar, yeah, the sort of leopard print, sort of jacket.
Totally 90s. Like you'd see like Julia Roberts have this kind of look, and this is the like our villain of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the heel, and of course. He's got like a Letterman's
jacket on, and then
that's the uniform
of a shitheel, and like in the third act, kind of secretly dark. What a classic!
Yeah, you got to find like got to find the right vehicle. This was like the right vehicle. And like Pauly Shore was just kind of like flying high, and then it just stopped all of a sudden. Other people's careers kind of picked up the slack or whatever. Jim Carrey came out of the gate fast, to pick up the slack, and
he's like, well, you
Adam
mentioned
Sandler,
Steve Martin too. Like Jim Carrey, kind of when he went dramatic, he stayed dramatic pretty much.
Yeah, with Steve Martin, he like does all this serious stuff and mainly serious stuff, and then he does Bowfinger, and it's like, yes, this is what we've been missing. And again, like I've been revisiting a lot of like Steve Martin movies because like I disliked I hated Father of the Bride, I hated Shop Girl, all this stuff. And like now I've sort of realized that it was just this thing of like, oh, I want the goofball. I want Three Amigos and the Jerk. And the Man with Two Brains, all that kind of stuff. And now that I've realized that, okay, it was just like, this is just a normal thing that every generation goes through, everybody goes through, and it's part of like an actor's growth, an artist's growth. So now I can like go back and watch The Father of the Bride and Shop Girl. And
we got to do Palooza.
Yeah, we'll do that. You know what one I want to take on is My Blue Heaven, where I mean he's playing a little bit of a goofball, but it's not.
Love that.
Yeah, he's playing like
he's crossing the street and then he starts like boxing with the cars.
He's playing like Tony Soprano or something, and then I want to see the one, the Steve Martin one, where he's like a preacher. Like I want to kind of revisit his, because again I kind of went into those with too much baggage.
We should do My Blue Heaven with when we do our mafia comedy movies. We'll do My Blue Heaven, Wise Guys, Oscar,
Johnny Dangerously.
Johnny Dangerously.
I just watched that one. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. I'm seeing all this like 90s DC Comics stuff in the kids' room. Yeah, I really enjoyed your theory. And I'm on board.
That Encino Man,
watching Brendan Fraser's Encino Man character like bite that frog and stuff.
And the lighter.
Yeah.
I saw Pauly Shore live in 2003.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
It was awesome.
Like his well, that's the other thing. It's like his movie career dries up, but he's a comedian. He's a stand-up who's like super famous, who had like a huge career. So even when that career kind of dries up, he can go back and do his stand-up and be like a headliner because it's like, oh, it's Hollywood's Pauly Shore, and so just do comedy clubs across the country and
it was awesome.
Yeah,
and like a big chunk, like it was what it really was. He was just telling stories.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a spoken word thing almost.
Well, because it
was amazing. It was just riveting. It was like
his career dries up, and then like. Not too long after, like, reality TV starts up. So then, like, he has that, like, documentary.
Pauly Shore is dead.
Pauly Shore is dead. And then, like you said, like, he doesn't have to do, stand-up. He can go out and just be like, hey, I'm going to let you in on my real life.
It was awesome. It was, like, one of the best, live comedians I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Oh, and there's...
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yeah, there's Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Another one where it's like... I don't think I knew who she was either. Like when I saw this movie, back in the day. So,
yeah, what a cast this movie has. Yeah, this is a classic, a Pauly Shore, the quintessential Pauly Shore movie, Son-in-Law. The sequel, same character as Encino Man.
You know what else we got to do? We got to do Palooza. We got do
Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
She's the femme fatale in that.
The Nick Cage Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
And Karen Sisko. We'll have to see if that's like running anywhere because I really enjoyed that show when it was on. It was kind of like it was like Elmore Leonard. It was an Elmore Leonard character, so it was like an Elmore Leonard TV show, and like at the height of like my Quentin Tarantino fandom. So it was kind of like it was It was like Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown style stories on a weekly basis.
There's a great Elmore Leonard movie on Tubi called 52 Pickup with Roy Scheider and John Glover. I'll have to check it out.
There was an Elmore Leonard one I saw recently too. It was like from the 70s or something. Yeah, back in the 90s, we didn't have like the nomenclature to describe Pauly Shore. It was just like. Like now, all different kinds of like fashion and subcultures are all very like carefully curated and named. Like you say, like there's there's degrees of like, okay, this is that. But back then so it was just like, oh, he's weird. Like what's his deal?
The for Halloween,
like hipster. Hipster would be like a larger blanket term.
Yeah,
but you could get very specific about like what exact kind of
type of hipster.
Yeah, he is.
His scarves amazing.
Yeah,
I
his
love
scarf game is on point.
headband game.
Yeah.
You know what? I think he shouldn't have cut his hair.
What are you gonna do? You
Jesus,
you
Pauly.
can't put toothpaste back in the tube. And it was in the service of
A role.
and a good role. Like I thought that
I like that
was
movie.
One of his better movies.
Andy Dick co-star.
Yeah, Andy Dick was great in it.
Lori Petty.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like, oh, maybe he should have just like done the pee-wee and like just tucked the hair, slicked it back and just tucked it in the back. It's like, oh, here's my army haircut.
They should have had a joke that he has an exemption for his hair. Wouldn't that have been funny? They're like, you have a presidential, your dad's a senator and he got a.
Or he's just got his helmet on for the rest of the movie.
Wouldn't it have been funnier to have his hair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what might have been, he's fine. He landed on his feet.
Got all those resids.
Yeah, he's got, spandex, bike shorts under, Daisy Dukes.
And he's got purple socks with, slip-on cowboy boots.
I do like that there's moments in time where, being the jock is out. Sometimes it's in, sometimes it's out. And this is a moment in time where it's the villain's the jock, and then he's the guy. He's like a Bob Hope character or something, where he's he's like, oh, I don't want to get in a fight. He's sort of cowardly or
you
whatever.
wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, revisiting it now, it's Son-in-Law is so much fun. But
In the Army Now is great.
In the Army Now is great, and at the time I liked it a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good stuff.
I haven't even watched Biodome probably since the '90s.
I haven't watched Encino Man since it was a new movie, so I gotta go back.
Yeah, he's Sean Astin, young.
We did PaulyPalooza.
We're gonna write.
We'll do another
Encino Man.
Yeah, we'll go off and write the script to Encino Man. Look at all the stuff, all the drinks that are in the cupboard.
Oh yeah,
in this.
There's life in there. Yeah. I was pouring over that.
Yes.
There's a Coke Sixer
some
in there.
Old school Cokes and orange juices and really nice, really beautiful.
Anytime they're in a store in these movies, like in Encino Man, oh my god, they were in a convenience store.
Yeah,
I was salivating over the old Hostess wrappers in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were watching this movie. Perfect with Jamie Lee Curtis and John Travolta.
Oh my God.
We'll have to do an episode on it. It's excellent. But it is I was watching it and I'm like, I don't know if this movie's any good or not, but I'm loving seeing what an 80s workout club, what an 80s fitness club was and seeing all that I'm just my eyes are spinning at just all this 80s-ness in every pixel of the movie. And so it's kind of like this with the 90s where it's oh wow, yeah.
Look like the old Ocean Spray
bottles.
bottles.
Ocean Spray juice, and it's I had forgotten to be nostalgic about that. You know what I mean? It's I forgot that. Oh yeah, that isn't something you really see anymore.
Me too. And in Jury Duty, Tia Carrere's drinking a Ocean Spray in the box.
Yeah.
And my grandmother had those. I remember it was the cranberry juice in the high C container.
You know what? One thing my grandmother would have was this carnation, these packets of like this powder where it was like a malted milk or something. It was like this carnation packet where you could make like kind of like almost like a chocolate milkshake out of your milk, you know?
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it was kind of like cold hot chocolate or something. It was like, you know, it was like that. You could like it would dissolve. It was carnation, but yeah, I'm sure it was like around. But
that sounds delicious. I'm gonna have to get some of that.
You'd make a very like frothy drink out of it. And various flavors too. It wasn't just chocolate. It was like vanilla and different.
I'm gonna look and see if they still carry that. Like I still use like my nonny. Like she would always have cranberry juice, like apple juice, grape nuts cereal.
Love grape nuts. That I gotta find that Pauly Shore jacket. I like that jacket a lot.
That jacket is sick. I'm gonna have the like. I don't know if I'd wear them out, but like the "Seduce Me Please" shirt.
He's definitely like a style icon, and he does kind of have like the Sideshow Bob look.
Yes.
And you can kind of see there was a backlash, like a specific Pauly Shore backlash, but then just a backlash of like this, like the guy with the hacky sack, kind of thing. It was like a backlash against that.
Was Sideshow Bob Post?
Yeah,
Was he post?
Sideshow Bob predates
Pauly Shore.
I'm fairly. We'll have to check. Like just because it's like The Simpsons starts in like the late '80s, and Pauly Shore starts in the early '90s, and I think Sideshow Bob was in there early enough. Yeah. But anyway, so this has been our Pauly Shore episode, PaulyPalooza. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
And yeah, buddy.
Buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Some grindage.
I had a good time talking about the Pauly Shore movies. Sorry things didn't work out for you, Pauly, and you kind of had some lean years there for a little bit.
Shouldn't have cut your hair after.
Yeah, bad move. Should have kept that hair. Didn't you read the story of Sam sitting and see what happened to him?
It's just Samson. He's got like curly hair, just like Pauly.
Yeah, his dad wasn't Sammy Shore; it was Samson Shore. That's what Sammy's short for.
I was there. It's like I was just hanging out at the Comedy Store, and in walks Dice. He just walks right up on the stage. It's like didn't have to. It's like he was working through his material.
Tie dyes start coming back around then.
Yeah.
You know,
Save the whales.
Yeah.